This is from the Petty Corner. I'm Petty Diana. Today I have Michael-Michelle Brown here with me, Iron Mike. We just saw her last compete against Paige Van Zant at Power Slap 12. Welcome back to the Petty Corner.
Hi.
It's so good to have you here. And actually, thank you for coming here. Yeah. But you grew up in Vegas.
I did.
And you live here, and you still live here?
Mm-hmm. This is my home, born and raised.
I love it. And then what kind of sports and stuff did you play growing up?
So growing up, I played mostly boy sports. My dad wanted a boy, hence my name. So he put me in all boys baseball, and then I played football, and then I did that until high school. And then in high school, I kind of transitioned over to girls sports, and I did volleyball and basketball and girls football and softball. So I kind of like always, every season I did a different sport, and then I like switch off. And yeah.
So when you played football, was it like contact football or was it flag football?
When I played football before high school, it was full contact football. And then in high school, I played girls football, so it was flag, but it was still very much like there's contact for sure.
Oh, wow. So you're such a badass. I feel like flag football for girls, though, is like more up and coming. Like they're actually like making like traveling teams and stuff now.
Yeah, I saw. I wish that was more popular when I was younger because I for sure would have been all for it because football's always been my favorite sport. But I was actually like, my freshman year was the first year they introduced girls football as a varsity sport. And we went to the like state championship and it was crazy. It was so fun.
That's awesome. How did you get into MMA? Because before Power Slap, you did MMA, right? How did you get into that?
So I did it first just because when I was in college, I wasn't doing any sports and the gym wasn't doing it for me. So I went to the little UFC gym and just took classes for fun, like hitting the bag and hitting pads. And then one of the coaches there was actually like, he was a fighter. So then he took me to a real fight gym, Extreme Couture, and I trained there a little bit. And then I did a little bit of sparring, and I was like, wait, I think I'd be interested in that. And then he was like, I think you do so well. Like, let's do a fight. And then I had a tough enough fight, and I just fell in love with it. So,
I know last time I talked to you, we kind of talked a little bit about your MMA career and how you got into Power Slap. You did have a back injury. So how is your back today?
It's perfectly fine, but also because I haven't done any grappling in like probably 6 months. So that's what I'm afraid of. It's good right now, but I'm scared if I go back to wrestling or grappling that it's gonna just spasm up because I need a little surgery on my back, but that can come later.
Do you feel like you'll ever go back to MMA?
Yes, I do love it. At least like even if it's just for fun, but fight wise, I for sure am gonna go back to fighting. I think just more it's gonna be boxing.
Boxing?
Yeah.
So have you ever done boxing before?
I've never done boxing, but after the fight with Paige, or the match with Paige, a few different boxing platforms have hit me up to do professional boxing, all like kind of influencer, but still professional. And Slap just kind of like fueled the fire in me for the competition and for fighting. So, yeah, I think I will be having my first boxing probably within the next 4 months.
Wow. So is it traditional boxing or is it like bare knuckles or dirty boxing?
I would be interested in dirty boxing, but this would be traditional boxing. And me personally, like, I don't think I'd ever do bare knuckle boxing.
Hey, you know what though? Paige has been vocal about wanting to do dirty boxing. Yeah. So maybe they can make that happen for you guys over there.
Oh yeah, that'd be crazy. I would definitely need a little bit, like a few under my belt but oh my God, I didn't even think about that. That'd be so fun.
Yeah. You also let me know, it's going to be local here in Vegas?
The one that I'm talking to right now is actually going to be in another, like overseas, for my first one. But I'm kind of in between that next and Power Slap next. Power Slap right now is my main priority. So I'm hoping once I get my next Power Slap match, I can give them a for sure on the boxing. But yeah, it's all up in the air, but the opportunity's there. It's just kind of like when it all lines up.
Yeah. I mean, but Vegas is like the fight capital of the world. So, I mean, if you ever get a boxing fight here, let me know and I'll make sure to come down to watch. Okay, so you did all those sports and then you did MMA. How did you get into Power Slap?
So I've always been the most competitive person ever and so passionate about sports, especially combat sports. But I was kind of in a weird space where I wasn't able to train like I want to. And I felt like, maybe fighting just with my back injury, I just felt like I was in such a weird place. So I went and I sought out so many different other options that would still have me in sports and in combat. And I kind of was thinking about getting into broadcasting. And then I was exploring my options there, like maybe starting at smaller organizations, trying to work my way up to UFC. And then I came across Power Slap and I saw the opportunity there and I was like, oh my gosh, I'd love to commentate for them. That'd be so cool. And then I got in contact with Erica. And then she's just like, oh, we'd be interested to have you as a striker, and then I'd be like, okay. At first I was a little iffy when I first looked at Power Slap myself. And then when I really looked into it, I was like, no, this is amazing. It's growing so fast. I was like, of course, like I absolutely would love to be a slapper.
Yeah. And so you have 2 matches under your belt. But when would you like to come back? Like you just competed in, what was it, March?
Mm-hmm.
When would you like to come back to Power Slap?
As soon as possible.
As soon as
If they had
possible?
one tomorrow, I'd be there tomorrow. So
Yeah.
I definitely want to be on the next one. And I have the drive on me. I always have a chip on my shoulder, but coming off a loss, I want to go redeem myself.
Yeah. And you were just in the training camp that just happened this past week.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel like, a lot of the strikers, they'll just come on your first one. You just came on stage, right?
Yes.
And then, like they throw people on the card and they don't have any experience.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel the difference was from your first match to the second one, where actually being able to train in like those camps and then like this past training camp?
I think those are amazing because, like you said, the first one, it was like, even a couple weeks before, I wasn't hearing anything, but I signed the contract. So I'm like, I know what's happening because I signed the contract, but no one's really explained anything. No one's talked to me. It's just kind of like, all right, show up at this day. And I showed up on the check-in. I didn't really realize what check-in was. So that was crazy to me, the interviews. And then, you go and you hear the rules kind of for the first time the day before the match after weigh-ins. And it's all a lot to take in because, it's the day before fight camp or the day before the fight. There's no fight camp. And then you get on stage and you're still very unsure about everything. So the fact that now there's an actual training camp to where it's like, hey, this is what's happening on check-in. This is what's happening the day after check-in. These are all the rules. This is how you should train. I think it's really a game changer. It's something I wish I had, but at the end of the day, no one had that before theirs, so this is cool that they're introducing it for everybody.
I love that they're doing that too, because like you said, like you kind of just get thrown into things and you don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
But we've seen a lot less fouls now since that, and a lot of the guys, because it was predominantly men for the first couple seasons, like we did have Sheena and a couple other women on there, but they were on the show, so they got like that experience from there, and then they would go on the live cards. But like there's only show once a year, and then there's not. I mean, they pick like people up randomly around that, so it's awesome to see as a fan.
Yeah,
as well.
I think that's the cool thing about Power Slap too, and why I'm so happy that I got in it when I did is because like it's growing, but we're growing with it, and so I feel like I'm one of the first. Of course, like Jackie and Sheena, like those girls were the first, but then I feel like a part of the first, so I'm growing with them and I get to see all the change. And even from my first one to this last training camp, the amount of change is crazy and I'm just happy to be a part of it.
Yes, I love it. I can't wait to see Mac. And I do want to talk about this before we move on, but your little cockback thing, like you should keep that because that was awesome. The crowd went wild. Like you had the slab up and then you just pulled the cock back.
That was shout out to Pono. Pono helped me so much leading up to that fight, and he gave me the idea for that because mainly like my thing is I'm so focused on slapping with this hand that I just forget about this hand. And in my first match, like I think my first match against Emily, like with this hand, I did nothing with it, and I feel like I lost a lot of power. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna like talk back every time. So it's like, no, like I'm fully in there. And like it kind of kept me grounded too, to slow down because I was doing everything so fast. This is like, no, like you need to slow down and get ready. So
No, I love it. You need to keep it because the crowd went wild.
yeah. And now I feel like I have a little signature. So I'm like, okay.
Yeah. What do you do outside of Power Slap and MMA?
So hobby-wise, I am a coach of my little brother's baseball team because I love all sports, and he's 10 and has a little league team, and it's so cute. And I'm Coach Mikey, and I love those little guys. And then I was working as a waitress, and I just quit my job. Last week was my official last week, and now I will be full-time focusing on training and well, I guess boxing now, power slap, and just trying. I have 5 months saved up, so I need to figure out what I'm gonna do, but I want to do something that I love, and I have 5 months of savings to achieve that. So
I love that for you. But you did post on social media maybe a couple weeks ago that some things that you were going through, that you had an eating disorder before.
yeah.
So I kind of wanted to get into that. Like, what age were you when you were going through that?
So really, it started my freshman year of high school. That's when, in the moment, I didn't realize I was going through that, but then going through my journey of trying to heal from it, you can kind of like fully see like when the eating disorder started and when it like took over. And I would say about my freshman year of high school, so probably like 12 years ago.
Oh, wow. And how long did you battle that?
Up until January of last year is when I started my recovery. So from 2012 to about 2024. So
Wow.
yeah, 12 years.
So you battled that bulimia for 12 years.
Yeah.
When did you realize that it was like a problem that you needed to go get help?
So for me, I think because when you think of eating disorder, at least when I thought of eating disorder, it's like there's a picture in your mind of what somebody that has an eating disorder looks like. And for me, I never really was underweight. And from a visual point, there was really, I didn't look like I had an eating disorder, to me. And eating disorder is not talked about. So the things I was struggling with, I didn't even realize were an actual issue. I thought it was just me, you know, having bad habits or, just constantly thinking about food and my weight and getting rid of food. So it wasn't until probably I moved out of my parents' house at 21. And I would say at about 22 years old, it was at its worst. And I was living with my best friend. And I just realized, like, I can't stop what I'm doing. And it's hindering me, like, in every aspect of life. Oh my God, I want to cry.
Oh, no.
But, and that's kind of like the first time I was like, okay, like, I need help because it's like I don't know how to stop doing what I'm doing, and it literally took over my life. So that was kind of the first time I went to therapy, and I had a therapist for a while, and I'd work through it with my therapist. But it wasn't until January of 2024 that I got true help, and I like went into a sorry, I don't think I've ever talked about this actually, really.
That's okay.
To somebody that's like not my family. But I was trying to recover for so long, like for the 2 years that I was doing therapy, and I moved back home with my parents, and then um it was like my parents that came to me and they were like you need real help. Like you don't talk to us, like you haven't asked us for help, but like we can see like your life is just like it's not like you're not living life.
Mm-hmm.
And I like broke down and I was like, I do need help, but I don't know how to ask for help because for me, like I always want to be tough and strong. And then they helped me find like a rehab facility. So in January I checked in and I lived there for 45 days, and it was like 24 hours care, like 24-hour therapy, like psychiatrists, um just like basically rehab, I guess, because you live there, you can't have contact with the outside world, and you're just focused for those 45 days straight on your recovery and like kind of like learning how to live again. And I'm so grateful for that because, um, after that, I was able to start my recovery. And I would say about 6 months after that. So, like August of 2024, like August of last year is when I felt like, okay, now I'm recovered. And then for the last 6 to 8 months, it's kind of just like really making sure I stay in my recovery. But yeah, I don't know if that answered your question at all. I don't even remember what your question was. But yeah.
I don't remember either, but were your parents the first people to check you to be like, you're not okay, or were there signs there that other people knew about that checked you?
So I was checked in ways where it wasn't an eating disorder. It was like through depression and anxiety. So I battled like the depression and anxiety as well. I think I was first put on antidepressants. I mean, my junior year of high school, I was taken out of high school and I was homeschooled because I was mentally just in such a bad spot. And in my mind, it was due to the depression and anxiety. It was later that I realized that the depression and anxiety stemmed from the eating disorder, and that was really the root of it all. But so I was constantly checked by people around me, like, oh, is your depression? Are you on your medicine? Like, your anxiety and all these things. But eating disorder wise, the first person that checked me was my best friend, because she was my roommate and we lived together. And like you can only hide so much when you live in an apartment with somebody. And I don't even remember exactly how, but I think it's just the first time I started opening up a little bit to her about it. And she checked me in a loving way, more like, I think, like, you're not happy, all these things. And like, she could see the signs. And then when I moved back in with my parents, is when they were like, you can't, like, it's not okay what's happening. So.
Mm-hmm. Do you still continue like outpatient treatment, like therapy and stuff like that, to make sure that there's no relapse there?
Yeah, so I did like three months after that as well, outpatient treatment. So I'd go 5 days a week to a center. It was almost like school. Like it started off like 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, and you literally just do recovery. And then I slowly dwindled to 3 days a week, and then finally by like August, I think it was like 1 day a week now. I'm on my own, but I still have a therapist, and like I really lean into my faith as well. So when I struggle, my first line of defense is, pray and ask God. And usually, like for the last 8 months, I'm grateful because it hasn't had to go farther than that. But I have steps, like if I see myself get really back deep into the dark place, I have steps like reach out to my therapist. If that's not working, maybe go to meetings and stuff. But I haven't had to deal with that recently, so I'm grateful.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
Do you have a sponsor or anything? Like, I'm not sure about like eating disorders, but like,
Yeah.
drug and alcohol people that go to rehab, like they usually have like a sponsor and stuff. Like, do you have a sponsor that kind of helps guide you, or is that just your therapist?
I would say my therapist. And just being open now and open with my family about it makes it a lot easier for me to talk about it. So, even if I'm like not completely struggling, but I have little thoughts or urges, I'll usually talk to my best friend or talk to my parents about it.
So it sounds like having a really big support system was crucial, and your faith and, taking those steps to go to therapy and the treatment and everything. But what is like your message or a piece of advice that you can give to someone who is struggling silently through that? Because there are probably a lot of people out there that are too ashamed to talk about it and, just don't know how to get help. So like would be your piece of advice to them to help overcome that?
I think my biggest piece of advice, and honestly the reason why I decided to share my story, because I had no intention on ever telling anybody that I had an eating disorder, at least like outside of my family. But I was taking a shower. This is kind of off topic about what you said.
That's okay.
But, I was like taking a shower, and in my mind I was kind of thinking about how I want to build my brand and just kind of thinking how I want to present myself in Power Slap and just career wise, what I want to do. And then I realized, like, okay, my main goal, I want to help people because when I was in the dark place, I never seen anybody talk about eating disorder and like say, no, you can recover. So I was like, before I start thinking about my career, I want to get this out there so that people can see me and see that things can get better, even if you're in a dark place. So my message is, if you're struggling, like ask for help, and it doesn't make you weak to ask for help. And even when you feel like, life can't get worse, or you're just in such a dark spot, it can never get better. Like it can get better, and it can actually get better pretty quick as long as like you get help and you do better. So.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
Is there, I guess maybe we can post links or something for like resources for help, but is there like national things that we can put in here to help people?
There's like an eating disorder hotline, and then if you Google it, a lot of resources will come up. Also, just understanding if you think you're struggling with eating disorder, really getting knowledge of it will help so much because there's no knowledge of it. So just understanding what eating disorder is, because there's a lot of different ones. It comes in so many different forms that I think that's the first step to getting help. It's kind of, what is eating disorder, and okay, who can I contact to help me? And I think the eating disorder hotline is a good first step.
Thank you for sharing that. So it took you a very long time to like notice it yourself, and your family and friends too. Like it just took until you were living with someone for that.
Yeah, I think, like I said, with the knowledge of an eating disorder, so there was always it. Anyone close to me, whether it was friends, close friends, family, could see between my weight fluctuation. My weight was constantly fluctuating, like literally 40 pounds every month. One month I'd be 40 pounds down, the next month 40 pounds up, the next month 40 pounds down, which is like crazy and very like visually obvious. And then also just my, obsession with weight, and then the anxiety and depression. So everyone around me knew there was a problem. But again, we always thought the problem was the depression and anxiety. And it wasn't until everybody around me, and myself included, was like, no, the eating disorder is really the cause of it, is when everyone started looking at eating disorder rather than depression and anxiety. Because at first it seemed like, okay, the weight thing and the eating thing was coming from the depression and anxiety, like that was what was causing everything. But once I realized, like, no, it was the eating disorder causing everything else, is when everyone around me and myself saw it for what it was.
All right, I'm going to be a little, I guess, naive and ignorant here because I kind of know what anorexia and bulimia is, but like anorexia is like when you starve yourself and you're depriving your body of all the nutrients, and then bulimia is where you eat and then you throw up all your food. Is that?
Yeah, so that's what the common idea of bulimia is that you eat and throw up, but it's actually you eat and then you purge. And the word purge does include throwing up, but most people associate with just throwing up, but it can come in a lot of different forms. Purging can be throwing up food, exercising for an excessive amount of time, like 8 hours, in order to get rid of those calories. Not eating, eating one day and then not eating for 3 days because you want to purge that food. So it's kind of just the cycle where anorexia is like a constant, like you're constantly depriving yourself of calories and stuff, whereas bulimia, it's like you're getting the calories at one point and immediately after you need to get rid of them. So me personally, like mine came in a lot of different forms. Mainly was the throwing up, the over exercise, and then the not eating. But it was a constant cycle. Like I couldn't go 3 days and just all 3 days eat 3 meals normally. It usually was like the one day eat one big meal at night and then feel like I can't eat for the next 2 days because I did that, or I need to go exercise for 8 hours every day because of the big meal. And then it was just a constant cycle. And then, the obsession with weight and the obsession with food, and just causes so many issues.
I could see, I guess, from a point of view of someone who is struggling with that, like I don't have an eating disorder because like I still eat, but then I just work out too much.
Exactly.
And thank you for sharing that because I didn't understand that. Like the misconception about bulimia is you just eat and you throw up. Like I didn't know about like the over exercising and the overeating, but like what are the repercussions from bulimia? Because what I thought it was just you would eat and you would throw up, but like over exercising and then like fasting too long between meals and stuff. So like what are some of the repercussions that you can suffer from that?
One is like, I think mentally, just the obsession with it when that's all you're thinking about. Like, I was a bad employee, a bad friend, because that's all I could think about was that cycle of like, or that purging. And like, I can't see anybody for 2 days because I need to just be away and deal with this. And then physically, like, I was always getting injured because, I wouldn't, I, eat and then not eat for 2 days, but still need to train and then overeat. So my body was never properly, like, I never gave my body the proper nutrition. And the throwing up, like, heartburn is one of them, like chronic heartburn. Like, I have heartburn like every single day still. And really just a lot of issues, anemia, just, yeah, chronic heartburn is personally for me just the worst. And yeah, really just a lot. I think it's the psychological issues that it causes that are the worst because like I said, like my depression and anxiety was 100% because of the eating disorder.
I just want to say thank you so much for sharing that. Like, cause
I hope I shared it good because
no,
that's
you
the
did.
first time I ever talked about it, so I'm not used to.
No, you did. And I really hope that we can help somebody out there that's struggling because you never know. There's so many people that are struggling in silence and they're just looking for someone like you to relate to that they can be like, okay, like I'm worthy enough to get help and I can get help. And so, yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Thanks for letting me share.
Of course. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate your time. I cannot wait to see you back on the Power Slap stage.
Yay, I can't wait to be back.
And then for those of you guys watching at home, be sure to like, follow, subscribe, all that good shit. Stay petty, bitches.
Stay petty, bitches.